now to discuss both of these stories today is Peter Mackay, former Foreign Affairs Minister. Peter, good morning. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good morning, Marcia. Good to be with you again.
Let's talk Greenland in just a moment, but I want to begin with China. The last time a prime minister visited China was Justin Trudeau back in 2017. At this moment, what does Canada want in a relationship with China?
Well, I think sort of normalizing or smoothing out relations would be a low bar to reach. The previous prime minister, as you know, was quite enamored with China, admired their basic dictatorship. I've been to China on diplomatic missions. Inevitably, there are human rights discussions that happen. We know that there have been Canadian citizens who have been kidnapped and some who were actually executed. And so there are a number of very difficult discussions. Also on the Prime Minister's list, of course, will be discussions around trade, energy, agriculture, talking about issues such as security. Foreign interference is another very difficult discussion, Marcia, and we've seen an inquiry here in Canada that pointed the finger directly at China. So all of those issues and more, I suspect, will be covered.
Are your expectations high or low? Could we see, Peter, a trade agreement reached, or at least the beginning of one?
Yeah, I think it's possible to move down that road. Of course, the Trans-Pacific Partnership is perhaps the under base to all of that. There is also, of course, the tension, Marcia, that will inevitably come from the White House. If we are seen to go too far down the path of befriending China, we know who in Washington is going to be irritated by that. And at a critical juncture in the trade discussions coming up this summer, as we hope to officially get USMCA back on the agenda, this could be another irritant, like recognizing Palestine, like running ads in the United States. People like the elbows up approach. It hasn't worked, and the Prime Minister has not been able to deliver a trade deal, which was the primary thing that he was elected on.
Well, speaking of you-know-who, let's turn to the issue of Greenland and Trump's latest threats and these options that are apparently on the table, the White House or Washington, the U.S. buying Greenland or perhaps moving in with military force. Is it a crazy question to say, should this put Canada on notice?
I think we are hyperventilating a little bit on this. It's a lot of musing. The president uses very blunt, ham-fisted, often threatening language. It's not something we can ignore, but at the same time, I really personally don't believe that this is something that will ever happen, that we would see U.S. forces deployed. I remind the listeners, Marcia, they have a base in a place called, well, formerly Thule. It's now, I think, a Greenlandic name called Pifnik. But that base is something that the United States utilizes for the purposes of Arctic security. They have missile defense capability there, air landing fields. I've been there. And so that is something that we can't overlook, nor can we overlook the history of purchasing large swaths of territory throughout the United States history. They bought Louisiana, they bought Alaska, they have relationships with other countries where they provide security. So there are, pardon me, a whole number of options that they may explore. But ultimately it will be, as the Prime Minister said, the people of Greenland and Denmark that will decide this, perhaps through a referendum, perhaps through further negotiation. But it's irritating, for sure. We had a French president come and speculate about Quebec's future, and it grinds on people. There's no question.
What do you make of Canada's move to open up a consulate in Greenland? What is that saying?
Well, I think it's a bit of a signal, perhaps, that we are going to do more to engage. It might have been a request from Denmark. It may, I'm sure it was discussed in the Prime Minister's recent meeting with President Frederiksen. So those are gestures. Greenland, let's not forget, as part of Denmark, is part of the Arctic Council, part of NATO. With growing threats and vulnerability in the Arctic, this is something Canada should be doing in its own interest, in its own efforts to protect and promote sovereignty in the Arctic. And so I think it's a sensible thing to do, and I applaud our government for doing it.
Peter Mackay is a former Foreign Affairs Minister for Canada. Great to see you today. Thanks so much for your time with us.
Very best, Marcia. Thank you.